Okay, so I'm going to recap my games from Flying Monkey. I'm not going to belabor them, but I will kind of go through some positional stuff. Um, Interestingly, we got Nighthaunt got hit with some points changes. I'm going to go through my list as well. So there's going to be some alterations. You know, the Flying Monkey event was before the Battle Scroll. And a lot of my opponents, but not all of them, they got hit with some points changes too. So I'm going to do my best to just kind of do some positional stuff to kind of show you what's going on. I also have some notes that I'll follow, and just kind of talk about what it was like playing the new Nighthaunt. And then I'm going to do a more tier list breakdown, especially now post Battle Scroll, going into like some of the units and stuff. I think there's play, but I think they are wildly different, and hopefully this will actually show you how different they are. So first mission was against Carter. He was a very nice guy, and I think he placed pretty well at Big Beef Beatdown. I think he got second or so. I ended up having a fairly challenging strength of schedule. I had a bunch of really good opponents, and they were all really fun to play and very engaging, and it was good. And I used a clock, so I appreciate, especially if any of them watch this. I really do appreciate how patient everybody was about it and how understanding they were. I did it for two reasons. One, I've just had a lot of games that did not go to completion, and it really wasn't on me, and that's just like not always that fun. And there's sometimes where you can't do anything about it, and I feel like running a clock actually takes a lot of pressure off you once you get used to it, because then like you can sit there and spend 5 minutes to think about stuff and you don't have to feel bad. When we played a game and uh, they called out an hour and a half left, but my opponent was kind of like really fretting about the clock, and he's like, oh, I feel like I don't have any time. Where I was like, oh no, we actually, we both have 45 minutes. We're doing really well. Like I think I was at like 43 minutes remaining, and he was at like 46, and I was like, so we like this is you're fine. Like everything's going really well. And then like if I have to go to the bathroom, like um, I don't feel like I'm wasting actual game time, and I don't feel like I have to rush or whatever. Or even if I need to walk away, if I have really bad dice and I want to walk away, I don't feel the need to have to justify that or feel bad about it. That and I was also on call that weekend, so I ended up getting two calls that I did have to step away for. So it was nice to be able to just put it on my time. So again, I appreciate the patience and everybody's understanding with me using a clock. I love using a clock, and I think once you get used to it, it actually creates a more fun play experience. That being said, first game against Carter was cyclic shifts. This one I felt pretty good about for myself. I'm actually going to hit the brakes and describe my list real quick. So I was two drops playing Nighthaunt, playing Quicksilver Geist, which is the good one that you have to pay points for. I had Lady Olander. I had two units of reinforced Glavewraith Stalkers. I'm using Chain Gas here because TTS. And then I had a Scourge Gyran Black Coach, and then a Lord Executioner. And we're going to come up a lot of reasons why he's on the chopping block, and probably not in the new version of my list. And then my second battalion, I had a Cruel Gas Cruciator. I had 20 Blade Geist Revenants, and then I had 2 units of 8 Pyregeist. I know Pyregeist are probably spammable. I actually think that the Battle Scroll update, um, increasing points on a few things and switching around some stuff, it is kind of incentivizing you to either spam coaches or spam Pyregeist, and I don't like that. There may have been an argument that prior to the change you could spam Glavewraith Stalkers, but I don't know. I think there's a lot of weird things. And then so I took Scouting Force and Restless Energy. Restless Energy just plays into what you're trying to do in a game, and I feel like Nighthaunt doesn't kill anymore. So Scouting Force was also pretty good for what I was trying to do. And then this is my opponent's list. I think I did my best to get everybody's lists. I think what I have is right, and there might be minor things that are wrong. Yeah, the opponent had the scary Eltharian, had the scary twins, I don't know which heroes they actually had. I think this is right because this is the hero that if they successfully cast a spell on a 3+, they can auto cast it. If this is not right, that's the hero that he had. I don't know necessarily the names on all of them. And then the other hero, I can't remember really what the other hero did or does. They were just kind of there, so um, they kind of deployed like this. I'm going to be really loose. Oops. And one of the things I thought about that I thought was really cool about my list, and really important, right, is Nighthaunt does not kill, and Nighthaunt cannot bring units back anymore, unless you bring Nagash, and we're not doing that. So what you need to worry about is keeping your units alive, right? So I don't, and normally in general, like I'm like this, right? I do not take double turns. Like I'm not a double turner. I don't typically play really hyper aggressive lists anymore. I did in end of second edition. I was playing Marathi bow snakes, and there's a few times where when playing Daughters of Cain, I do feel like there can be incentive to take a double turn and win right away, but I just generally don't. And so I ran 2-drops, and I was able to go second in every single game and maintain turn order the entire time. And I don't think out of any of the myriad opportunities I had to double turn, I took any of them. Just there was just nothing to do. There might have been one time when the game was like closing and I had completed most of my battle tactics, and I did it just to get the points to be like, okay, now that this has happened, like you can't win. But I just don't do it. And then this one, I remember I set up my haunted houses. I don't remember exactly how I set them up, but I typically will set one up where my castle's going to go, and then I set one up usually like kind of advance of where I'm trying to be, and then I set one up on the other side of the castle, so I have the room. And then the first thing I always set up is my regiment with my cruel guest, and that's so I don't make any mistakes on his 12-inch bubble. So I always want to make sure I'm able to be in that bubble with all of my units that need to be in the bubble. And so it's typically going to be like Blade Geist Revenants that need to be in that bubble. And I typically want to deploy them touching an objective in case my opponent does have some good Alpha Strike potential. I'm at least forcing them to roll a 7 in order to get into combat, and that does come up a lot. It comes up quite a bit. I usually deployed Glaive Stalkers as sort of like a second line threat. They used to have 2 rend and +1 damage on the charge. They still have +1 damage on the charge, but they don't have 2 rend anymore. So I like them to be a counterpunch, and they can kind of scalpel some units away. And then Pyrogeist I often used a bit as a screen, and just they're very points efficient, and they can be really annoying and hard to shift, and then they can steal objectives like really sneakily. So that's how I like to utilize them. So they were kind of up here like this, and then usually have Lady Olinda in the middle so she can do some spell casting. I think I got better with what I wanted to do with my Black Coach as I played. As I played rounds, I'm still trying to figure it out. It oddly doesn't make sense in the list. I think it was like back here somewhere. Because the list is not killy, I'm not killy, so having a weird killy element just took some practice on like where I wanted it to be, really. So I think I had these guys in the middle like that, and then these guys like that. And then, yeah, the Executioner, he ended up being his own problem because he wants to be in combat to do stuff, to use his ability, but I don't like risking him. So my opponent was playing Intercept and Recover. I don't know, we'll just get some of these guys out for that. And then Master of the Paths. So in order to get started on tactics, they're going to need to kill a hero. And I don't want that to happen. And so I put my treasures on all 3 of my heroes just right off the bat. And then gave my opponent the first turn. So the first turn, they moved pretty conservatively. They put the guy in the shrine like they always do. They moved everything up. Just like kind of a normal amount. Kind of shuffled. Didn't really get crazy. Yeah, that came out kind of gross. Let's control Z that real quick. I'll go a little slower. And then, yeah. So they kind of came up here like this. I don't even think they were that aggressive, to be completely honest. They were like that, kind of had authority in considering this way. Captured their point there. Had this group of blade lords kind of come this way. I think a big thing for them is they had some sort of bubble they were trying to stay in. Move their shrine a little bit this way. These guys are even further back, to be completely honest. And I think a big thing that happened, and Sebra towed this objective. A big thing that happened was my opponents didn't know what to expect from Nighthaunt, so I think that they were generally a lot of times like were wondering if I could alpha strike. Didn't know if I had a strong alpha strike, so they kind of played as though I did. And they didn't use the rune yet, but they ended up using it a lot. So yeah, they played pretty conservative, didn't move very far. So what I did then, so they got their 1, 2, and more, which I think is on this one, right? Unless it was pairs. Let me remember or read because I don't remember. Yep, it's 1, 2, and more. So they got a healthy turn just by putting Sebrith on there. There's not much I could do unless I wanted to be outside of my bubble range and really kind of be in threat. So then on my turn, I did teleport the coach to like here, to outside of 9, and if I remember correctly, he had moved kind of back. Oops. Yeah, he had been like kind of a little far back, but whatever 9 is, outside with the coach. It was a little bit of a risk, but I knew it could do a big charge, and then if it got in with the charge, I could steal this objective and kind of get rid of these things, which I think were like his only good source of teleporting, and were likely going to be really annoying. And then everything else just kind of like moved forward as a castle, and kind of maintained. And then I did bring the house with me. So I didn't move a lot. I think I moved, just enough to get onto this, just enough to move these guys up here like that. It wasn't anything crazy. I didn't end up getting the charge here, and I think he did redeploy, but I got a pretty good roll. The problem was I was too close. Yeah, so I think they were like here, because they got what, an 18-inch bubble. Yeah, and this is a mistake that I made, where I probably could have charged more like this, or in a way to barely be inside the total eclipse bubble, which they got up, and then I would have been able to pile away out of it, especially when he did his like river blades thing, because he did it to get onto the objective, to try and stop me from taking it. It was kind of a Hail Mary, knowing that he was going to fight me anyway, but the way that I had charged, because I just was like really loose with it, I didn't have a way to get out of the bubble, but there would have been an opportunity for me to, had I just been more cautious with the way that I charged. So that was kind of annoying, because then I couldn't all-out attack, and then he actually kind of whiffed, which was annoying, and I think I killed like 5 or 4 or something pathetic. It was enough to take the objective because of the Nighthaunt -1, and then he's worth 5, so I was able to also get my 5 points. And I believe, let me check my notes. Yep, I did start my scouts, and I got restless because I stole his objective. So I probably had moved something else a little further up. I think it was the Pyregeist, because I wanted them on the objective, so I think they were like this or something like that. No, they were further back, so I think it was just these things were further forward. Yeah, because I started scouts. I tried to make sure that I was starting scouts as soon as possible every time, and had a good plan for scouts. So for me, it was a pretty big turn, pretty big 20-point turn, just to get going. And most of the time, I just wasn't worried about underdog. I mean, I'm going to give him underdog, and then I'm just never going to worry about priority after that, right? I'm just always going to stay on the bottom and just don't worry about a double. And if I want to take a double, like they were going to be underdog anyway, right? So yeah, on their turn, um, he starts moving the Blade Lords over here to engage and deal with this, and then moves these Blade Lords forward to start engaging down here. He had this guy with him. This guy was providing some sort of buff or bonus. I don't remember what it was. It might have been like they needed to be near him in order to get a ward, I think. And then started moving Eltharion. Oops. I don't know why I keep switching to the measuring stick like I'm actually playing. Started moving Eltharion and Alethor over here, and then moving this forward. They ended up summoning the twin stones back here, which I think was kind of a mistake. I forgot to put them down. I mean, like it was helpful. It made sure that he got spells off, including Total Eclipse, but he just never got rid of it, and it ended up being a bit of a problem for him later. And then they put the regular this rune out, which was pretty annoying. And we actually, we forgot to fight with it multiple times. So then, yeah, he charges in over here with the Blade Lords. I'm pretty sure. Yep, charges in with the Blade Lords to get in on the coach, which he does successfully. Oh yeah, and we're like moving this guy like his 3,000 inches or whatever. I don't remember. He can. I think he ran. He can move so far. He might have been further in, but he got in. He doesn't kill the coach, which did give me the opportunity to have the coach kill the rest of the River Blades, which again, it was the only teleport in his army, and I felt like I could have a pretty powerful ability to like start controlling things if I could deal with that. But he did do a healthy amount of damage to the coach there. But he just doesn't have a big turn now, right? So charged in with Severith. Killed a few of these probably, I don't remember how many, and then did a thing to get out of there, a power through to get out of there. And then if I remember correctly, these Blade Lords either weren't close enough or they failed their charge to the Blade Geist Revenants, so they didn't actually get in on that turn. Yeah, it was a failed charge, so he wasn't able to steal that objective. He piled in on here, and then I think he takes this one back. So he does get his 1/2 more, if I remember correctly. That or the way that I was, actually, he doesn't get this one back. And maybe he couldn't actually get enough Blade Lords on it, or like the positioning on where I ended up being after everything was like teleporting around, and I was able to pile in. He doesn't get that back, so he only gets the 1/2, which I think is 7. It might actually be 8. I'll double check real quick. Yep, 3 if you have 2 or more. So, yeah. So my next turn, we're just gonna hold still. I'm gonna the haunted house. I activated it to bring this guy back. Coach is kind of in trouble. I think the coach is down like 1 or 2, so retreating wasn't really an option. But teleporting and just getting over here to take this was a pretty easy call, and just do a holding pattern to make sure that I again got my points. Actually, I did not even teleport out, I don't think. No, I did. I started moving up, and I think I brought this haunted house over. No, I didn't. I was so low on, yeah, I was really low on command points, and so, trying to keep some things alive and keep things going over here, rallying and stuff like that, so I didn't. I actually only scored the 8, I believe, on that turn. I should probably pull up my actual game records, because then I could better be able to track that. Yep, I did not get out for my other scouts, and you know, it might have been that I wanted to kind of deal with this in the background. I didn't want this coming in. I was just trying to zone out and protect kind of my backfield and my 3 treasures. And we were already in an okay spot, you know, so we dealt with this and just kind of did a, you know, a further holding pattern. I'm pretty sure I moved these guys forward. Because, you know, for me, I'm just trying to time you out. I need to get big points and then just get to a position where you can't come back. And so if I can keep you from scoring any of your treasures by turn 4, that means at max you're going to get is 10 points off the treasures. If I can wait until turn 5, you know, then you're only getting 5 points off the treasures. So as long as I cannot overextend and just be in a good position to get scouts, get my secondaries, then, you know, then we're golden. And that works for me. So on turn 3, he does continue fighting. He finally gets these Blade Lords in here. Happily, I think they were more on the outside. He's trying to take this objective, but it was just too easy for me to like keep piling in onto it and then like keep applying the negatives that Nighthaunt do to where he could never really get it. And even with them doing like 5 mortals, or I mean a mortal on a 2-up, with as many guys as he has, he's on average only killing like 3 or 4 blade guys. And then if either one of my haunted houses is working properly, I'm bringing one back. And then if his ability is working properly, I'm bringing one back because he has the heroic trait to bring one back in the hero phase. So I'm just bringing a lot of these back. We're ignoring 1 point of damage each time, and he's just not killing that many. And meanwhile, like as we're fighting, I'm killing like 1 or 2, and then that's just like lowering his output each time. And I mean, I don't think I killed a single. I killed the river blades in this list, but most of my games I didn't kill anything. So yeah, this guy's up here to protect them. These come down because we're going into his turn 3. Yeah, these come down. This is the turn that these 2 are super scary, right? And they were kind of like right here. They came in here and here. I think my haunted house is actually further up at this point. They had killed the coach on his turn. I mean, on my turn, there's nothing I could do, but I did kill a few of these guys, which was nice. Just to kind of, I again kind of whiffed. I whiffed with the coach both times in this game, but sometimes I didn't whiff with the coach, so that's is what it is. And then I think all I did was like shoot at this guy a little bit, and like didn't really worry about him once I like saw how not great his profile was and that he wasn't going to be able to shoot at them without getting super close. Which he eventually did try and do, right? Like, so I think he moved up around here. So they killed either all of them or most of them. I think between the 2 of them they did kill this whole unit, which was fine, right? And like I'm anticipating that's gonna happen eventually. Oh, that's in the other unit. And then they teleported over here because when they kill something, they can teleport out of there. So they did that, right? So then on my next turn, oh yeah, I think. Oh no, the pirate guys were not dead. That's right. They had a few guys left. They did not have many, but they had a few guys left. Because then on my turn, while they're in combat with them, they used my ability to drift in and out and drift up over here. They got a pretty good one. And then, you know, my subsequent charge phase, I had them charge this. So we're moving. You know, we're going through stuff, right? And maybe we ruled this wrong, but he was ruling that he wasn't in combat. So I said, well, if you are not in combat, does that mean I'm not in combat? And we both had agreed because he had tried to use an ability, or some abilities came up where I was like, oh, well, aren't you in combat? And he's like, no, I'm not, because the guy doesn't count or whatever. So not because it's just this. So this did enable essentially scouts too, because then these guys teleported, and they teleported to like here outside of 9 of this, but they were able to charge the twin stones and get on there, destroying the twin stones, and then controlling 1, 2, and then these guys piling up over like this. Oops. these guys had piled in like this, and I teleported a haunted house like this. So I was able to control 1, 2, 3 for scouts 2. Oh, I forgot to give him his points. On his points, I think he got another. Yeah, he just got another 8. Yeah, at some point. Oh, yeah. I think at some point I started with this guy here. So when he teleported there, so I did control that almost the entire time. I actually thought that he was just going to casually send Severith over there to take it back, but he never did. Yeah, this fight progressed, and then yeah, I started just using these guys as a screen, and then backing everybody up. I think we actually ended up like shooting a lot at Severith, and then eventually charging him with either most or all of these characters. This fight just turns into a nothing burger. Is basically what happens with this fight, honestly. And then these guys are coming back to provide another set of screens and another protection against shooting. That was like the whole point, is I wanted them close enough to stop his shots. But I think these guys they all charge in eventually. It might not have been this turn, but I'm using these guys and my haunted house as a screen to Eltharion because he's scary. He did countercharge on my turn, and he kills like most of these, but I only need 1 to keep him in combat. And that was his last point, was the counter charge. So I had another huge turn, right? So I now got 10 off of this, and then 10 off of this. And I think it was because before the coach had died, he never backtracked to go take that objective. He started moving forward, and I think the way the coach was positioned, he couldn't get on the objective. So I ended up now holding both of the objectives in his territory, and then I got my scouts too. So it was a huge turn, and we go into his turn 4. Eltharion finishes off these, but he kind of said that writing was on the wall, which is pretty accurate, right? Eltharion's going to kill these guys, and then this fight's going to continue. Like, these Blade Lords are actually starting to finally run out, at this point. Like, they're actually getting pretty limited. He's starting to kill way less of the ghosts, and the ghosts are continuing to come back. And then these guys did end up killing Severith. So he still hasn't gotten any of the treasures. I did have another screen that was ready to come over here. He scored just another 8 points with no tactics because he wasn't able to kill any of the heroes, and he wasn't able to get his treasures because those were also all on the heroes. And then meanwhile on my turn, I very easily get 10 more on primary, just being able to hold 1, 2 more, and then scouts 3 because I've got so many units in his backfield already, and I could start teleporting back screens if I needed to, stuff like that. So once we were there, we did end up calling it. We kind of talked out a last turn of him being able to at least get 1 of these, which I don't know, like, it's always dice. And I had another unit of screens, and I was gonna run for my life. I was gonna do everything I could to make it hard. It was probably gonna be a Linder at this point, who I send over to be the one to fight, because you need to hit her and wound her on 5s. But either way, it was a really good game, and I ended up winning 73 to 47. The Nighthaunt is just, this is what it does, and so this is what I do in all my games. I'm going to go ahead and bring all this stuff off the board. It's probably just better, actually, if I delete everything and just re-bring my army back in, huh? So that was game 1. Game 2 was Stormcast and Passing Seasons, which this one does get kind of weird, just throughout the game. Give me a second, see how much time I've been. Oh, half an hour. Could go a little faster. Okay, we'll get rid of all this. these treasures because that's what everybody was doing. And then I already changed the planet maps, and I'll change this just so if I have any questions I can just look at it right away rather than have to dig out my book or something. Alright, so let me pull my list. And then I'll go pull his list. So this game was against Will. He was another really nice guy. I think he was part of the team, one of the teams out there, like the Pacachino, El Pacachino Takes No Prisoners or something like that. And it's a lot of good players on that team, so I know he has a lot of experience against good players. I put down my haunted houses sort of like this, you know, covering my zones here, covering possible advancement over there, and then covering, you know, the inevitable moving up here. I think this one I put outside of my zone. And he puts the big toilet like here or something. Yeah, it's like this. And then dragon near the center. Oh yeah, so you know, it's the same as it was. What the hell are these doing here? Same as it was for me, right? We're doing this guy in a position to where he can cover everybody, and then we're doing these guys in a position to where they're in the bubble and able to contest an objective to do their thing, right? And we're doing these guys so we can move forward, get to here. So I think these were just a little further down. Oh my goodness. These are like a little further down. Might even have these ones in the back or something like that, or maybe rotated, I don't know. I'm not going to waste a ton of time with the intricacies. But yeah, these guys were kind of up front, so they could run on and snag that as needed. And then this unit was down near the bottom, and then these guys were set up as reserves. With one unit, kind of like this, and then the other one ready to follow behind. And I did kind of mess up here throughout this game. Just not putting enough emphasis on setting up and being cognizant of scouts. And it probably put me in a position where the game was losable, where it probably didn't need to be, was the thing. And then coach was kind of back here. So I had my standard kind of bubble formation. He had Drake's one Templar there. He had some stuff in the sky. Liberators were not one of them. Oh, good God. What the hell is happening? Okay. Whatever. Okay. Yeah, Liberators were kind of like that. Storm Coven is kind of in the middle. Kind of aggressive, kind of not. It's like there. One unit of these Reclusians. I think one was in the sky. I think the Vigilers, I think, were in the sky. I think one unit of Reclusians was not in the sky. Jesus Christ. One unit of Reclusians. Oh, these are the Quester Soulsworn. They were not in the sky. They were like here. And then one unit of Reclusians is like right here. Something like that. One of these knights was in the sky, I think, and then Questor I think was in the sky, and then this one was not. Yeah, he was like here with these guys. Sky. Whatever. Jeez. What is going on with these units? Stormcast must be hard to play on TTS because this seems annoying. And then Tornus was like right here or something. Again, he did Intercept and Recover and Master of the Paths, same combo. This time, I actually put the gold on, or the treasure on the Blade Geist unit, and then also Olender and Crusader. I knew that he had a lot of damage to attacks, a lot of, but like low amounts of like bodies, right? And so he had high quality, low volume attacks. So I actually was kind of hoping to get the Executioner a little more involved this game. So as you saw in the last game, I was protecting him the whole time. I was worried about stuff being able to just kill him. So I didn't get to use him, and I feel like he was going to be really strong in this game if I'm able to reduce down Reclusian attacks or reduce down Drakesworn Templar attacks, or you know, anybody who comes in reducing their 3 attacks down to 2 attacks, you know, or even less. I don't know how many attacks each of these guys has. So that was kind of why I switched this. I figured he was going to be a relatively heavy charge-based army. He was going to need to get into combat with them in order to kill him. Didn't have a lot of ways to project power at distance. I was going to be reducing damage and hopefully bringing guys back. So turn 1, he did quest mark this, and then he hopped his Soulsworn, you know, into it through the portal here, and then moved up with these guys. You know, started walking them up. Moves his Templar here. He actually, you know, we ended up having some weird things happen with his Templar, but he moved up. These guys moved up. These guys stayed here on his back objective, and then he brought these guys in from the skies, and he brought these guys in from the skies. I actually think this Templar was going this way, because like I said, there's some weird stuff that ended up happening with him, and then he brought this guy in with them too. He does a bunch of shooting at the Blade Geist Revenants, you know, starting to chip away at them. Normal, makes sense. But then he just like takes his points, right? And so he does hold 2 greens. It does put him at 10. Oh, this didn't clear. Is there a way to clear these? Nope. Oh man. There's got to be a way to clear it. Right. Yep. So he just gets his 10. No tactics, no nothing, but you know, I think he's anticipating he's getting it later, right? So then I do something. It was kind of silly, and I didn't think it through. I deep strike the coach again, thinking I would turn off crit mortals on this objective and then be able to charge in and fight these guys. However, he redeployed off of the objective, so then crit mortals still was on them. I still made my charge because I kind of committed to this weird situation, but I just shouldn't have done that. And then I moved these guys, and I moved them. I think they were switched with the Pyregeist, so they were actually closer. But I moved them pretty close, ready to fight. Teleport the haunted house up here, and then move these guys behind, able to tag the objective but not having to fight. And then everything else just kind of, you know, did my normal thing. These guys moving forward and just kind of holding the area and being a general nuisance. Trying to stay within this nexus. This nexus might have been a little farther forward, but I didn't leave its bubble. Move these guys forward a little, keeping everybody nice and cozy. Started moving these more towards getting out of my territory, and then moving these here. So here's one of my mistakes, was I teleported this Black Coach, right? And I think the other one is I did that and then needed to be over here to fight, right? So that was a problem because I didn't know the Questers did 2 damage, and so that's actually pretty scary for these Glaive Ray Stalkers. It makes them more glass cannony. They probably were a good target to send into here, but this was the only fight I wanted to do, because then I could have saved this teleport and teleported these guys, maybe to like here, maybe somewhere like really annoying, and at least had the ability to start thinking about Scouts 1, which I didn't get on this turn because I didn't have the unit, right? And that was my fault. But I was moving these as fast as I could down here to try and start getting it. And so I just goofed up there. I would have needed these guys not to be in combat to get Scouts 1, but it still would have been a decent idea, I think. I think I killed 3 of these in combat, which was good. Felt pretty nice. But he cracked back super hard. I actually think I killed, yeah, I think he only had 2 left now that I think about it. But he just cranked on the mortals, and he did like 6 or 9 to it, which sucked. But because I messed up and I knew about the mortals, I actually had to go with them first before I went with the blade guys. So blade guys ended up losing like 4 or 5 or even maybe more models. They lost a lot. So many so that I didn't take this objective, but I did take this one. So that did start my secondary as well as scoring one of the greens. Then on his next turn, that was when he kind of decided he was going to move the Templar in this direction and decided that the coach was worth killing, which I think it was. There's a lot of times I kind of distraction Carnifex, which I don't necessarily always like that term just being generally applied, because the coach does do a lot of damage. So me putting it there did mean that like he's going to have to deal with it. These things kind of all moved towards the center of the board, being generally annoying. I think I maybe killed like 1 of these, if that, because I kind of goofed up. But these are, they're closing in, but he doesn't have a good charge lane because of where all of us were on this objective and whatnot. So it's just not quite there yet. He doesn't kill him off, which is nice. And I think I brought some back, or maybe 1 back with the haunted house. And, I fought to try and keep him alive. But I think he does kill him down to like 1 or something like that on his turn. So that's probably fair right there. And does less shooting into the Blade Geist Revenants, which wastes his time. But he does end up killing the coach. But now the Drakestorm Templars in a weird spot, which I thought was kind of funny. Tornus comes down to help these guys rally on the next turn. These guys just all move on to their objective, just stand there. They're a little bit forward because, but yeah, this one's on reds, so he only does score 5. And then it goes to me, and I think I ended up making another mistake where I should have teleported to work on Scouts 2, like to start thinking about Scouts 2, because I need to be tagging territory or objectives, terrain and objectives in the enemy territory. And so it's actually like Scouts 1 is really easy to get on this mission, but Scouts 2 is a lot more challenging, and I just was not like really thinking about it yet. Like this guy was maybe a little bit more forward. And what I should have done at this point was take these guys or whoever and teleport them back here. And I didn't. That would have fulfilled Scouts 1, which I go for anyway, but I just didn't do it, right? So I got this out of here. I don't remember even where I put it. But then these guys, I just put down, oh, Jesus, kind of down here. Being one of those, like, if you want to waste more time and not get yours to deal with this chaff unit, just go for it, right? And I'm going to get Scouts 1. Had this guy get out of combat. He drifted out of combat, and then, brought 1 or 2 back or something like that. Just kind of gave up on this for this turn because it didn't matter on this turn, right? It was only these 2. So I got my Scouts, and I got my 1 point. So now he's underdog. And now he's deciding to zone in on here, right? And I think because he hadn't shot them over the course of the turns, because he went after the coach, I'm pretty sure they were like back to full, or really close to full. So now's the turn where he's changed his mind again, and he's back. He's coming back for it, right? We're gonna go deal with these. These didn't have to really move. but the Drake Swarm Templar is now coming in. And he was fairly close, yeah, like 6 inches away or something like that. Reclusians are still moving up, but he also holds this objective, and I think he's like trying not to overcommit. He realized that these can actually do some damage to the Reclusians. I still had another unit of them. This unit was messing around. I think it was actually moving up, so there was some threat, but he just like plays it pretty safe. I think I rallied these so I could bring a few back and keep them going since they got out of combat, making them a little harder for him to deal with. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. So then the crazy thing happens. He goes in, he kills a few of these with shooting, and he gets a +1 to hit and all this stupid Stormcast stuff. And he fails his 7-inch charge into the Blade Guy's Revenants, and he spends command point to reroll, and he fails it again. So because I was tagging this objective in the Blade Guy's Revenants, you need a 7. He couldn't get in there, so it's like a whole turn of like only dealing shooting damage to them, and it was, I mean, I could see that was frustrating. It's a frustrating rule, but yeah, so he does get both greens because I think he moved these guys on, and at this point he started rallying them with this guy. Tornus really helps him out when they rally, which is why he brought him over there. But so he does get 10 off that. And I'm kind of not in a super good spot about that. So then, on my turn, I do then get these guys out of here, teleporting them into the corner. Whatever I'm doing, that's good enough for basically what I did with them. Teleport them into the corner to start working on scouts too. And again, I just should have done that earlier. 1, these guys just don't do enough damage for me to really be worried about it, and I could just drift out if I have to. And 2, I needed to start to get enough units to start the clock appropriately. So, you know, I can't get it on this turn because you can't get it with one single unit. You can get it with one scouts unit, but you need another unit to help. And so I was just, my timing was off, and I had a turn in which I could do it, and I should have. But yeah, that's where we're at. I do some damage here and try and get through there, but I mean, I really don't, and I don't take the objective. So no, I do take the objective. I think we get on there with these guys, and just, you know, kind of go back and forth, and I have enough guys on here, and then they do their end of the turn thing. So I just take one of the greens for 5. So, continues being a pitched game. I'm starting to feel pretty good, but like it's still just too close, and I can't do much about these 2 objectives. Like I'm gonna lose this. Like the Reclusians are coming. Like it's gonna happen, right? Oh, and I think I moved these guys up as a screen at this point to stop the Reclusians from coming in and helping out with the Blade Guys. So he decides to kind of tough it out up here, basically. And I do keep bringing these guys back, just slowly, which was pretty valuable. Yeah, his turn, he does a re-rolling charge, and it takes, you know, it's his 4th charge roll to actually get in there. He's killing these guys relatively, you know, he's like getting there. These guys are again shooting, all that. I am bringing them back. I do eventually use a Linder's ability to bring 2 of them back. And then he keeps rallying these guys. They're kind of stuck. They stopped doing anything, which was interesting. And then he brings Tornus back, just kind of chilling, right? These guys are just fighting over here. Again, kind of a nothing burger. We're on reds. He can't take my red. He even piled in, I think, onto it, but because he was getting -3 from his control score, it just doesn't take anything for me to protect it. So he just gets 1 on primary again. So this goes into my turn. I made another mistake here that was pretty frustrating. So I'm getting fairly confident in like timing, and that, you know, maybe he'll end up killing this guy on the next turn, but he's running out of time. And so I think I teleported these guys. I think I had 1 more at this point. So they're back to 6. I teleport these guys like to here. so we could charge the Stormreach portal and possibly get on Hand Snake. Plus, they have 6-inch pylons. But I got a good enough charge that essentially we're able to get here. And then I can choose to pile in here. But I actually stay out of combat range. This is my other mistake. I stay out of combat range of the Liberators because I didn't realize they're getting a bonus to their control score. So I failed to kill Tornus with all of these guys, which was a little surprising. And then these guys they do a little bit of shooting. I think they get like one. And also I didn't realize these guys aren't damaged too for the most part. So even though I'm subtracting 4 from Tornus' control score, putting him down to 1, they actually added up over here to be more than me, which I should have just piled in onto them as well, knowing that they're going to kill like 2 maybe if they're like crazy lucky, but they're probably not. And then they're also going to be a -4 to their control score. So I goofed. It was frustrating. I actually thought it was going to lose me the game because I thought my opponent was going to end up killing these Blade Geist Revenants and then just beating me by 5. So I don't take that, and because I don't take that and I'm in combat, I also don't get Scouts 2, which is, it was not a good turn for me either, so I only scored my 5 on my primary. 30-30, going into my bonus turn. I'm anticipating they're going to get 10 off of these, and then kill the Blade Geist Revenants, and then, win by 5 is where I was expecting to be. But I think at this point, Blade Geist Revenants are getting crazy low, right? Maybe we brought one back or something like that, I don't know. But, and then these guys I did move out of the way, like keep them in range here. Like he was more maybe like this or something, then Blade Geists were still on the objective, something like that. Basically, they're where they can keep the Blade Geists in the range, but not to where they can ever take the damage. And again, I decided not to send the Executioner in to not give him those 5 points. At any point, if he gets those 5 points, he actually would have won. So I was keeping him back, knowing it was such an easy 5 points for him. But he comes in to start crushing on this objective. I actually think I also, like, these were just so far away, and this might not be accurate, that at this point these guys actually charged into the middle and they tied up the Questers, Soulsworn, and I think maybe even started tying up Vigilers to stop that shooting in the middle, which was also pretty harsh for him. And turn off the guy who can, or get the guy who turns off wards too far away from the Blade Geist to be able to do it, stuck in combat. So that ended up starting to be kind of harsh as well. So going into turn 5, basically the Drake couldn't kill like the last 6 Blade Geists. I think he chomped like 2 or 3. He chomped 3, I think, and then killed like another 2. He just like couldn't do it. I all out defense. I did my best to keep him alive. They stayed alive, which meant he was going to drop that point. But he does score these 2. He doesn't get a single battle tactic. So it does put him at 40. And then on my turn, I end up finishing off Tornus the Redeemed and the Liberators by shooting at them and charging them here. By having these guys, I had these guys pull out and then charge. And we end up finishing off the Liberators, which gives me... oh no, I think I ended up like not fighting Tornus the second time is what I did, something like that. But I took the objective. Oh yeah, no, this one's not worth anything. That's right. Yeah, I killed all this stuff. And reds aren't worth anything, but you can still control them. So since I still took an objective from him, I got the only objective in his territory, and I got Scouts too. So it ended up being a 40-40 tie, but because I completed battle tactics and he had none, I won the tiebreaker. It's a pretty intense game. And again, highlighting that the Executioner was a weird spot, and also highlighting that this list doesn't kill anything. I think I might stop it there. This is already an hour long. We can do another one for the other 2 games, or maybe I go in. I can finish my day 1 maybe. No, because this will be a long upload. So I'll go ahead and stop it there. Pretty good games. Hopefully my speed picks up as I work through the rest of it and get back to you guys soon.